Welcome to my channel. Today I'm making dinner in one pot or one skillet. It's going to be chicken meatballs with orzo pasta. This is perfect for kids. It's a really easy recipe that you can make in about half an hour to 45 minutes. It doesn't take very long. It depends on how long it takes you to do the meatballs. But here's what I'm starting with. A plate to put the meatballs on and a small ice cream scoop, or you can use a tablespoon, and half a pound of Italian sausage and half a pound of ground chicken. These two are really good together. That's why the meatballs are so good. And then 2 cloves of garlic that I've minced, and 3 tablespoons of parsley, flat leaf parsley, 3 tablespoons of milk, and 2/3 of a cup of breadcrumbs, and then about half a cup of Parmesan cheese, and then 1 extra large egg. This is important, extra large. 1 teaspoon of salt, and then half a teaspoon of pepper. I need to get myself some more pepper. I'm running out, but it's a very easy recipe, and I'm going to start mixing everything together. And first, the garlic. So it's basically, you just put this in a bowl, just add all of the ingredients to the meat and mix it up with a fork, and then make little meatballs out of it. Now the parsley after the garlic. It's super easy, and this is something that you can do on a weeknight. If you're not too tired, make some meatballs. The milk is going to help the meatballs become very soft, and the chicken also helps with this. These are much lighter meatballs than a beef meatball. And I'm holding some back with the breadcrumbs. See that I have 2/3 of a cup, but I like to wait. And now I'm using the Parmesan cheese. I like to wait and not add all of the breadcrumbs just to see what it feels like. This is a lot by feel. So 1 teaspoon of salt, and then about half a teaspoon of black pepper. And it's going to be easy to mix up. I like to beat up the egg a little bit. This is an extra large egg. So if you have a large, add 2, because it's going to give enough moisture to your dish. And I just add the egg at the end there, and then mix everything up with a fork. And you're trying not to compact the mixture. That's what you're trying to do. So you're going with the fork in there and getting everything mixed up. And the same thing, you're going to do that also when you're rolling the meatballs. Make sure you're not compacting them. There is kind of a feel that needs to happen when you're making meatballs at home. I have been making them for about 20 years, so I know how they need to look. I actually did not need the rest of the breadcrumbs that I kind of held back there. That's why it's better to add not enough and then have to add more than to put all of the breadcrumbs in and then you have a dry meatball. So that's why you're going to be careful with that. So if you think it's too soupy, add the rest of your breadcrumbs. That's why it's hard to give exact measurements. It's so much by how the mixture feels. So I'm just trying not to compact it with the fork too much, but you still want to get everything mixed in equally. What you can do also is to taste the meatball. The seasoning is great on these meatballs because I measure the salt and pepper. But you can also take a small piece, or make 1 meatball and fry up that 1 meatball and taste it and see how you like it. It should be to your taste. It has a great cheesy flavor because it's half a cup of Parmesan cheese to 1 pound of meat. So they're really flavorful, and the sausage always helps them to be very flavorful as well, because the sausage itself, the Italian sausage, is seasoned. So it helps with the seasoning. So you can use sweet Italian sausage, or you can use hot Italian sausage. That's up to you. This is a great meal for little kids. They can help with rolling the meatballs. They can help with mixing up the orzo. So you fry the meatballs, they roll them up. And little kids love to do this. And it's a meal that they will actually eat, because orzo pasta is delicious, and it looks like rice, but it's a pasta, so it's very soft once it's been cooked, and in this case a tomato broth. So that's great. And I'm just scooping up the meatball mixture here putting them all on a plate. I got about 20 out of 1 pound of meat. So this feeds a lot of people. This can feed 4 to 6 people very easily. I'm rolling up my sleeves there and you can see my tan. We are at the beach actually. We have a summer home on Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and we are getting ready to go back to Florida, which is where we live. So by the beach, it's nice to have Italian meals. I'm Italian on both sides, so it's very important to me to have these down home meals and some home cooking for my family. So I like to share them with you. There are a lot of people who don't make their own meatballs, and that's fine. You know, if you're in a season of life that you're really busy, you have young kids, you're not going to make your own meatballs. But if it's a weekend and you have the time, these are so great to have this recipe because they are lighter than beef meatballs. I prefer chicken, and it's even better if you mix the chicken with the sausage. That's a great combination. And you can also use these meatballs to make wedding soup if you've ever had Italian wedding soup. But you make smaller meatballs than I'm making today. So you make mini meatballs and you make a soup with a soup base, which is celery and carrots and onions, and you add some small tubetti pasta, which is kind of the tahini, the small tubes or the stars. So this is what the meatballs look like when they're ready. And I've rolled them all up, trying not to compact them too much. So you want to keep your hands cupped when you're rolling them. So that's pretty much the size. You can see by the size of my hand what they look like. And now I'm going to fry them. I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of olive oil to this skillet, and it all cooks in one skillet, which is awesome. You don't have too many dishes, only the dishes that you eat on, and it's very easy to clean up afterwards. That's why I love one-pot meals. You need a skillet. I prefer a non-stick skillet that comes with a big enough lid. If you don't have a lid, you can also use aluminum foil as a lid, and the Orzo will cook well that way as well. I have some skillets that I don't have a lid for, and that's what I do. A couple of layers of aluminum foil, make sure the edges are sealed, and you can use that as a lid. So that's a good tip. So I'm just adding the meatballs to the skillet. I'm going to let it brown on one side for about 2 minutes, and then turn them, and then let them brown on the other side for a few seconds. They don't really need to brown on the second side because I'm going to start adding the garlic and the rest of the ingredients for the Orzo. Everything cooks in one skillet. It's awesome. I love dishes like this. It makes it so easy to cook dinner, and you don't have a lot of cleanup, and it's great. So now it's browned on one side. You know, I've turned most of them over, and now I'm doing the rest of them. So you can see that they're beautifully browned on one side, and it's only been 2 minutes. I'm doing this over medium-high heat, and it's important to keep your heat even. So make sure you're paying attention. This is not something when you start frying meatballs that you walk away and go answer the phone. This is something that you really have to be there and pay attention to. I find it very therapeutic. I love it. So I'm right there by the meatballs and I'm paying attention. So I'm going to make kind of a well in the middle of the skillet, and then put in the garlic and start browning the garlic where the olive oil is. As soon as my hand is out of the way, you'll be able to see better. So I'm going to add 2 cloves of garlic that I have minced, and you can also use a garlic press if you prefer that. People are very particular about their garlic, I think, when they love to cook. So I like to mince mine with a knife. I don't like garlic presses, but that varies. So I'm letting this brown for a few seconds. Make sure you watch this. Don't walk away. Garlic burns really easily. So if it burns, you have to start all over because the taste will not go away, and it's very unpleasant. So now I'm adding 1/2 cup of crushed tomatoes and mixing them in with the garlic to make sure the garlic doesn't burn. So if you mix it in with something wet, that's what happens. And now I have about 3 cups of fresh tomatoes that I've chopped up, and this gives it a very tomatoey broth, which is what you want. You don't need a lot of crushed tomatoes. I think too much of the crushed tomatoes makes this too soupy, so I'm using fresh here. And now I'm adding 1.5 cups of Orzo pasta. If you've never tried Orzo before, it's shaped like rice, but it's really a really good pasta because it cooks very easily and quickly. And now I'm adding 3 cups of chicken broth. I like Swanson, that's my favorite brand. I really like how strong it is. I like the taste. If you have homemade chicken broth, even better, good for you. I usually don't have it on hand, and I definitely don't have it in our summer cottage because I don't have a stock pot that's large enough to make chicken broth. But now I am putting the heat on medium, and I'm going to let this come to a boil. And once it's come up to about boil, I'm going to cover it and let it cook for about 15 minutes. So now it's boiling, so I'm going to cover it, lower the heat to about medium, and let it go for about 15 minutes. So this is what it looks like. It's been cooking away, and the orzo at this point is mostly cooked. But what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to mix it up, just stir it up, make sure there's nothing sticking on the bottom, and turn off the heat and cover it, and then let it sit for about 10 minutes. And then all of the liquid will be absorbed, the orzo will be perfectly cooked, and so will the meatballs. So that's what you want to do. Let it sit. You can leave it on the burner, but just turn off the heat and let it sit for about 10 minutes. And this is what it looks like once it's been 10 more minutes. And I'm adding half a cup of Parmesan cheese, and it's going to make it cheesy, and it's going to finish seasoning it. You see that I didn't add any salt and pepper to the orzo itself. It doesn't need it because I add all of this Parmesan cheese at the end. So it's still going to be very highly seasoned. The meatballs are very highly seasoned. I like seasoned food. That's how I like to eat. I don't like anything bland. If you're going to eat at my house, you're going to know what you're eating. So the cheese makes it delicious. So this is what it looks like at the end. I added some parsley just to have something green. You can also add basil, so that's up to you. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I hope you've enjoyed this recipe. I hope that you make it for your family, and tell me in the comments if you make it, or tell me how you like this recipe and what kind of recipes you would like to see in the future. I'm loving YouTube. I'm loving this channel, and the more I cook, the happier I am. So I will be here to answer your questions. Thank you.